Hello, guys and gals, and this is we'll be reading. This is part 21 of our reading of the Harvard Classics, and the Harvard Classics are composed of the Apology, Phaedo, and Credo of Plato, translated by Benjamin Jowett, which we've read already. The Golden Sayings of Epictetus, translated by Hastings Crossley, which we are reading right now, and the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, which we translated by George Long, which we will be reading in the future. This book is edited by Charles W. Elliott, LLD, with introductions and notes, and the copyright information should be on your screen now. It says copyright 1980, 1937, and 1907 by Grolier Enterprises Corporation, manufactured in the United States. And in the last episode, we made it to the Golden Sayings of Epictetus, number 157. These Roman numerals are getting kind of crazy, I won't lie. The Golden Sayings of Epictetus, and we are starting with number 157. It is the critical moment that shows the man. So when the crisis is upon you, remember that God, like the trainer of wrestlers, has matched you with a rough and stalwart antagonist. To what end, you ask? That you may prove the victor at the great games. Yet, without toil and sweat, this may not be. Number 158. If thou wouldst make progress, be content to seem foolish and void of understanding with respect to outward things. Care not to be thought to know anything, for it should make account of thee, distrust thyself. So it's like saying it's better to be thought a fool than to open one's mouth and remove all doubt. Got it. Okay, this is number 159. Remember that in life thou shouldst order thy conduct as at a banquet. Has any dish that is being served reached thee? Stretch forth thy hand and help thyself modestly. Do not pass thee by. Seek not to detain it. Has it not yet come? Send not forth thy desire to meet it, but wait until it reaches thee. Deal thus with children, thus with wife, thus with office, thus with wealth, and one day thou will be meet to share the banquet of the gods. But if thou dost not so much as touch that which is placed before thee, but despisest it, then shalt thou not only share the banquet of the gods, but their empire also. Number 160. Remember that thou art an actor in a play, and of such sort as the author chooses, whether long or short, if it be his good pleasure to assign thee a part of a beggar, a ruler, or a simple citizen. Thine it is to play it fitly. For thy business is to act the part assigned thee well, to choose it is another's. Number 161. Keep death and exile daily before thine eyes, with all else that men deem terrible, but more especially death. Then wilt thou never think a mean thought, nor covet anything beyond measure. Number 162. As a mark is not set up in order to be missed, so neither is such a thing as natural evil produced in the world. Number 163. Piety toward the gods, Piety toward the gods, be sure, consists chiefly in thinking rightly concerning them, that they are, and that they govern the universe with goodness and justice, and that thou thyself art appointed to obey them and to submit under all circumstances that arise, acquiescing cheerfully to whatever may happen, such that it is brought to pass and accomplished by the most perfect understanding. Thus thou wilt never find fault with the gods, nor charge them with neglecting thee. Number 164. Lose no time in setting before you a certain stamp of character and behavior to observe both when by yourself and in company with others. Let silence be your general rule, or say only what is necessary and in few words. We shall, however, when occasion demands, enter into discourse sparingly, avoiding such common topics as gladiators, horse racing, athletes, and the perpetual talk about food and drink. Above all, avoid speaking of persons, either in the way of praise or blame or comparison, if you can win over the conversation of your company to what it should be by your own. But if you should find yourself cut off without escape among strangers and aliens, be silent. Number 165. Laughter should not be much, not frequent, not unrestrained. Number 166. Refuse altogether to take an oath if you can, if not, as far as may be. Number 167. Banquets of the unlearned and of them are without, avoid. But if you have occasion to take part in them, let not your attention be relaxed for a moment, lest you slip after all into evil ways. For you may rest assured that, be a man ever so pure himself, he cannot escape defilement if his associates are impure. Number 168. Take what relates to the body as far as the bare use warrants, as meat, drink, raiment, house, and servants, but all that makes for show and luxury reject. Number 169. If you are told that such as one speaks ill of you, make no defense against what was said, but answer, He surely knew not my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these only. That's brilliant. I like that. Let me make a note of that one. I really like that one. 169. I'm just going to write that top here. 60. Okay. Anyways, sorry about that. That was just really good. Number 170. 50, 60, 70. Okay, got it. When you visit any of those in power, bethink yourself that you will not find him in, that you may not be admitted, that the door may be shut in your face, and he may not concern himself about you. If with all this it is your duty to go, bear what happens, and never say to yourself, it was not worth the trouble, for that would smack of foolishness and unlearned who suffer outward things to touch them. Okay. Number 171. In company, avoid frequent and undue talk about your own actions and dangers, however pleasant it may be to you to enlarge upon the risks you have run. Others may not find such pleasure in listening to your adventures. Avoid provoking laughter also. It is a habit from which one easily slides into the ways of foolishness, or of the foolish, and apt to diminish the respect which your neighbors feel for you. To border on coarse talk is also dangerous. On such occasions, if a convenient opportunity offer, rebuke the speaker, if not at least by relapsing into silence, coloring, and looking annoyed, show that you are displeased with the subject. Number 172. When you have decided that a thing ought to be done and are doing it, never shun being seen doing it, even though the multitude should be likely to judge the matter amiss. For if you are not acting rightly, shun the act itself. If rightly, however, why fear misplaced censure? Number 173. It stamps a man of mean capacity to spend much time on the things of the body, as to be long over bodily exercise, long over eating, long over drinking, long over other bodily functions. Rather should these things take the second place, while all your care is directed to the understanding. Number 174. Everything has two handles, one by which it may be borne, the other by which it may not. If your brother sin against you, lay not hold of it by the handle of his injustice, for by that it may not be borne, but rather by this, that he is your brother, the comrade of your youth, and thus you may lay hold of it so that it may be borne. Number 175. Never call yourself a philosopher nor talk much among the unlearned about principles, but do that which follows from them. Thus, at a banquet, do not discuss how people ought to eat, but eat as you ought. Remember that Socrates thus entirely avoided ostentation. Men would come to him desiring to be recommended to philosophers, and he would conduct them thither himself. So well did he bear being overlooked. Accordingly, if any talk concerning principle should arise among the unlearned, be you for the most part silent, for you run great risk of spewing up what you have ill digested. And when a man tells you that you know nothing and you are not nettled at it, then you may be sure that you have begun the work. Number 176. When you have brought yourself to supply the needs of the body at small cost, do not pique yourself on that, nor if you drink only water. Keep saying on every occasion, I drink water. And if you ever went to practice endurance and toil, do so unto yourself and not unto others. Do not embrace statues, as Diogenes is said to have done in winter. Okay. Number 177, I believe. 177. When a man prides himself on being able to understand and interpret the writings of Chrysippus, say to yourself, okay, first of all, Chrysippus was the so-called second founder of the Stoics. Okay. Say to yourself, if Chrysippus had not written obscurely, this fellow would have had nothing to be proud of. But what is it that I desire? To understand nature and to follow her. Accordingly, I ask, who is the interpreter? On hearing that it is Chrysippus, I go to him. But it seems I do not understand what he wrote. So I seek one to interpret that. So far, there is nothing to pride myself upon. But when I have found my interpreter, what remains is to be put in practice his instructions. This itself is the only thing to be proud of. But if I admire the interpretation and that alone, what else have I turned out but a mere commentator instead of a lover of wisdom? Except indeed that I happen to be interpreting Chrysippus instead of Homer. So, when anyone says to me, "Prithee, read me Chrysippus," I am more inclined to blush, when I cannot show my deeds to be in harmony and accordance with his sayings. Number 178. At feast, remember that you are entertaining two guests, body and soul. When you give to the body, you presently lose. What you give to your soul, you keep forever. Number 179. At meals, see to it that those who serve be not more in number than those who are served. It is absurd for a crowd of persons to be dancing attendance on half a dozen chairs. Number 180. It is best to share with your attendants what is going forward, both in the labor of preparation and in the enjoyment of the feast itself. If such a thing is difficult at the time, recollect that you who are not weary are being served by those that are. You who are eating and drinking by those who do neither. You who are talking by those who are silent. You who are at ease by those who are under constraint. Thus no sudden wrath will betray you into unreasonable conduct, nor will you behave harshly by irritating another. Number 181. When Xanthippe was chiding Socrates for making scanty preparation for entertaining his friends, he answered, "If they are friends of ours, they will not care for that. If they are not, we shall care nothing for them." Number 182. Asked, "Who is the rich man?" Epictetus replied, "He who is content." Number 100 and... Wait a minute, let me write that one down. I like that one too. 182. Okay. 183. Favoritism. No, sorry. Favorinus. Let's see. A Roman orator and sophist. Okay. When that was Favorinius tells us how Epictetus would also say that there were two faults far greater than and fouler than any other: inability to bear and inability to forbear. When we neither patiently bear the blows that must be borne, nor abstain from the things and the pleasures we ought to abstain from, so he to things. Okay. When we neither patiently bear the blows that must be borne, nor abstain from the things and the pleasures we ought to abstain from. So, he went on, if a man will not have these two words at heart, and heed them carefully by ruling and watching over himself, he will for the most part fall into no sin, and his life will be tranquil and serene. He meant the words, I can't read those, bear and forbear. They were written in Greek, so I couldn't read them, but they were translated. Okay. Number 184. On all occasions, these thoughts should be at hand. Lead me, O God, and thou, O destiny. These verses are by Cleanthes, the successor of Zeno, as leader of the Stoics and author of the hymn printed in Appendix B. Okay. Lead me, O God, and thou, O destiny, be what it may and goal appointed me. Bravely I'll follow, nay, and if I would not, I'd prove a coward, yet must follow still. Again, who to necessity doth bow aright is learned in wisdom and the things of God. Once more, Crito, if this be God's will, so let it be. As for me, Anytus and Melitus can indeed put me to death, but injure me never. Number 185. We shall then be like Socrates when we can indite hymns of praise to God in prison. Number 186. It is hard to combine and unite these two qualities: the carefulness of one who is affected by circumstances and the intrepidity of one who heeds them not. But it is not impossible. Else were happiness else impossible. We should act as we do in seafaring. What can I do? Choose the master, the crew, the day, the opportunity. Then comes a sudden storm. What matters it to me? My part has been fully done. The matter is in the hands of another, the master of the ship. The ship is foundering. What then have I? The ship is foundering. What then have I to do? I do the only thing that remains to me: to be drowned without fear, without a cry, without upbraiding God, but knowing that what has been born must likewise perish, for I am not eternal, for I am not eternity, but a human being, a part of the whole, an hour, as an hour is part of the day. I must come like the hour, and like the hour must pass. 187. Yeah. And now we are sending you to Rome to spy out the land, but none send a coward as such a spy. That is, he hear for a noise and see a shadow moving anywhere, loses his wits and comes flying in saying, the enemy are upon us. So if you go now and come and tell us everything at Rome is terrible, death is terrible, exile is terrible, slander is terrible, want is terrible, fly, comrades, the enemy are upon us. We shall reply, get you gone, and prophesy to yourself. We have but erred in sending such a spy as you. Diogenes, who was sent as a spy long before you, brought us back another report than this. He said that death is no evil, for it need not ever bring shame with it. He said that fame is but the empty noise of madmen. And what report did this spy bring us of pain? What of pleasure? What of want? That to be clothed in sackcloth is better than any purple robe, and sleeping on the bare ground is the softest couch. And in proof of each assertion, he points to his own courage, constancy, and freedom, to his own healthy and muscular frame. There is no enemy near, he cries. All is perfect peace. Number 188. If a man has this peace, not the peace proclaimed by Caesar, how indeed should he have it proclaimed? Nay, but the peace proclaimed by God through reason, will not that suffice him when alone? When he beholds and reflects, how can no evil happen unto me? For me there is no robber, for me no earthquake, all things are full of peace, full of tranquility, neither highway nor city nor gathering of men, neither neighbor nor comrade can do me harm. Another supplies my food, whose care is it? Another my raiment, another hath given me perceptions of sense and primary conceptions. And when he supplies my necessities no more, it is that he is sounding the retreat, that he hath opened the door, and in saying to thee, come, whither? To naught, and thou needest fear, but to the friendly kindred elements whence thou didst spring. Whatsoever of fire is in thee, unto fire shall return. Whosoever of earth unto earth, of spirit unto spirit, of water unto water, there is no Hades, no fabled river of sighs, of lamentation, or of fire, but all things are full of beings spiritual and divine. With thoughts like these, beholding the sun, moon, and stars, enjoying earth and sea, a man is neither helpless nor alone. Okay. Number 189. What wouldst thou be found doing when overtaken by death? If I might choose, I would be found doing some deed of true humanity, of wide import, beneficent and noble. But if I may not be found engaged in aught so lofty, let me hope that, least for this, what none may hither, what is surely in my power, that I may be found raising up in myself that which has fallen, learning to deal more wisely with the things of sense, working out my own tranquility, and thus rendering that which is its due to every relation of life. If death surprise me, thus employed, it is enough if I can stretch forth my hand to God and say, these faculties which I receive at thy hands for apprehending this thine administration, I have not neglected. As far as in me lay, I have done thee no dishonor. Behold how I have used the senses, the primary conceptions which thou gavest me, Have I ever laid anything to thy charge? Have I ever murmured at aught that came to pass, or wished it otherwise? Have I in anything transgressed the relations of life? For that thou didst beget me, I thank thee for that. Thou hast given for the time during which I have used the things that were thine. It suffices me. Take them back and place them wherever thou wilt. They were all thine, and thou gavest them me. If a man departs thus minded, is it not enough? What life is fairer or more noble? What end happier than his? And on that note, we're probably going to end it a little bit early because we are to the fragments. We are going to start with the fragments. But yeah, we have, we're going to say fragments. Got it. And we will be reading the fragments here shortly. It looks like there is not much to do. So it looks like we'll start the reading the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius when we continue after we read the fragments. Anyways, we have been reading from the, we're at a good stopping place. We've been reading the Harvard Classics, specifically the Golden Sayings of Epictetus. And so, yeah, if you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe, ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, want to support me in any way, if you want to join the Discord server, all the information will be in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.